Welcome to One World Countless Story podcast with me, Selina Novello. Hello, and welcome to another YouTube video. Today I am sharing another episode from One World Countless Story, and I am talking about, I got all my notes here. Look how cute this little fish guy is. Is it gonna, anyways, oh, there it goes. I drew him while I was writing notes. But anyways, I got my notes here. I am ready to start and give you guys the video version of the podcast. You can also listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, all the places where you listen to your podcasts, you can find it. So if you prefer the audio version, you can go over to one of those. If you want to watch this version of me sitting and talking in front of the camera, then you're more welcome to stay right here. And before I get started, don't forget to subscribe, and I also just wanted to wish you guys all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year coming up. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to One World Countless Story podcast with me, Selina Novello. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than what they usually look like. So usually I have a guest where I interview them and we share their story together. But today, since we are coming very close to the end of 2021, I thought I would come on and share some of the things that I have learned this year. I'm going to tell you the top 5 things that I've learned this year. Now, I'm sure that there's lots of different things that I've learned this year, I'm positive, but right now, these are the things that I thought stuck out the most to me this year. I might finish recording this and be like, oh, I should have talked about this, but for now, this is some of the most important and really big things that I learned this year, so I'm very, very excited to share it with you all. Before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much for showing up every week or every second week and listening to my podcast. It has been so amazing to get all the feedback from all of you guys, and it just has been so amazing to hear how different stories have affected you. And if you have been enjoying this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would just share it with one person. You can copy the link and send it through a text message, or you can even share it on your Instagram or Facebook story. Either way, it means the world to me to share the stories of others so we can make this world a better place one story at a time and make people feel less alone, especially during these trying times and just on times of uncertainty. So let's get started for today. I am very, very excited to share some of these things. So I have my notes ready to go. So the first thing that I learned this year that was really big was how important making decisions for yourself is. This is a really, really, really big piece of my growth this year. So as many of you guys know, I was in university. I went to Mount Royal University for business, but this year I decided to take a year off and just really start focusing on myself and just give myself a little bit of a break, because I did 13 years of school, and it was just time to have a little bit of a break. And so I learned a lot from that experience of deciding to not go back to school. But one really big thing was that I gained so much power and confidence in making this decision on my own. Now, usually when I make decisions, I like to go to everyone. I ask my friends, I ask my siblings, I ask my family, I ask my extended family, I ask random people that I just met. I ask a lot of people for their opinion on what I should do. From the small things like, what do you think I should do with my hair? Do you think I should cut it? Do you think I should leave it long? To the big decisions like not going back to school. So this decision was very hard for me, and I was very scared of disappointing people, which is a part of this lesson where you can't and won't please everyone It is literally impossible. I've been trying my whole life to please everyone, as I am a person pleaser. And this is not something I realized this year, but over the last couple years, I've realized that I cannot please everyone. And it's something that I have to constantly remind myself, because I get back into that old habit of trying to please everyone, and I don't want to disappoint anyone, and I want to make sure everyone is happy. And so through this lesson, the one lesson that I learned this year of the power of making your own decisions, was that I had to really take this situation and look at it from, what does Selina want? And you can ask yourself that question. What do you want? Versus, what does everyone else want for me? Which is what I do, and a lot of you do as well, where we always are asking everyone else and making sure that everyone else is happy before we are happy. So in that, I say that we need to stop doing things for everyone else and start doing things for ourselves. If you're not familiar with the story of me dropping out of school, I had talked about it to my parents a lot and brought up the idea of it and never just really took action on it. And after a while of build up, I was in my last semester and I was feeling very stuck and not really, really happy. And so I had a counseling appointment, and we talked about it, and I was just so tense and so stuck. And I was like, my heart deep down knew what I wanted to do, but I couldn't do it because, again, my person pleaser was stepping in, and it was like, are you sure this is the right decision? Who's going to be unhappy? Are your parents going to be mad? Or what are your siblings going to think? Like, all these different layers to the one decision. But I remember sitting there and saying, I'm not going to go back to school. And everything in my body changed. My shoulders opened up. I felt like super tense and crunched. And then I went to like being super open. And so I knew, listening to my body, that that was the right decision. And after my counseling, I definitely had to think about it a little bit more. But it was like that decision was so freeing and so powerful for me, because I always run everything by my parents and always run everything by other people. And so this was a very, very big lesson that I learned, that it's okay to make your own decisions. It actually helps build your confidence. I think it's very important that we do consider others' perspectives, but we have to remember that they have biases. They have biases from their experiences. So maybe someone would be like, oh, well, I didn't go back to school and it was the worst decision I ever made in their life. And so that will reflect on the way that they respond to what I chose. So I think that's something huge. There's lots of little lessons in that big lesson, but I think it's huge that we incorporate people's perspectives and opinions, but we just remember that there's bias around it, and we need to undo those biases and really look at them before we go into making decisions. So in 2022, I am moving forward and, just starting to ask myself more, what does Selina, what do I want to do, versus what does everyone else want me to do? And I encourage you all to do the same. So that is the first thing, which has many lessons in it, but that is the first lesson that I learned this year. So let's go to the next one. The second lesson that I learned this year is that you just have to do it. I got this cute shirt for Christmas. If you're listening to the audio version, you can't see it, but if you're watching on the YouTube version, you can see my shirt. It says "Just Do It." I got it for Christmas, and it was like such an awesome gift from my parents and just a really great reminder. But it was one of the lessons that I learned this year, was to just do it and let go of all the fear. Look fear in the eyes and do what you have always wanted to do. This was the second lesson that I learned this year. I have always been very afraid to start things. One, because I'm a perfectionist, and two, I think I care about what others think of me. And so I was always so nervous to start everything. And I had come around the idea of starting my own podcast a while back, and I've always had a dream of having my own YouTube channel and showing up on social media more, like TikTok and Instagram. And I was so scared. I was so afraid of what people would think. And that was a huge block. But I was just in fear. And it all started at the beginning of the year when I just started posting pictures from my past. I always take pictures and I never posted them. So I decided, why not post them and share a little bit about me? So I started sharing some photos and it was really awesome. And I started not caring about what other people thought because I really just enjoyed putting out what I was doing. And then moving along the line, some people are like, oh, you're so good at interviewing, you should start a podcast. And there was still things holding me back. Same with the YouTube channel. I was like, what are people gonna think? What's gonna happen? And the lesson that I learned is that you have to stop letting fear hold you back. Now, I am preaching to myself as well. This is something I have to constantly remind myself, that you just have to do it and just follow it and go with it and just work as hard as you can to make it as successful as it can be. And so for me, starting this podcast that you're listening to right now was such a scary thing for me because I was like, what if no one listens? And my goal for the podcast was to have 50 listeners. And within the first week, it had over that. And now we're almost at 500 listeners, we're past 500 listeners, which is so mind-blowing to me. And I never thought I'd be able to achieve. I wasn't expecting it, but I was afraid. I thought no one was going to listen to it. And here we are with all of you beautiful listeners listening to it. And it's been such a blessing and a really awesome way to make an impact in the world. And then with starting my podcast, it's like, well, why don't you start a YouTube channel so all the podcast episodes can go on there as well? And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do YouTube, I'm going to do YouTube. So then I started posting lots of little vlogs and videos about me and some motivation here and there. And it started taking off too. Now, I'm still at the beginning stages, but every single subscriber I get, I literally get butterflies and I'm so excited. And before, when I was like so stuck in the judgment of others and so afraid of what would happen from it, now my advice to people is like, just do it. Just get the content out there. Just post the video. And it's funny because I was that person who was very stuck and was like, me? I can't do that. But it's been a super rewarding experience of just doing it and just posting it. And I've had to work on my perfectionism a lot because I'm like, everything has to be so perfect. And I'm like, this has to be right and this has to be right. And trust me, this process so far, it hasn't been perfect. It's far from perfect. I've had lots of ups and downs. I've been learning so much about different interviews and the way to handle things. And also with my YouTube channel, there's one video that I forgot to post the intro song on just recently. Before, the old Selina would have been like, oh my gosh, I have to delete it and repost it and blah, 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 blah. This Selina was like, hey, it's okay. I made a mistake. I'm out right now. I'm not at a computer. I can't do this. I don't need to like stress out and freak out about it. I'm just going to leave it because everyone makes mistakes. And that was where I was like, that's major growth, Selina. That's awesome that we're seeing that. But it's just a reminder that it doesn't have to be perfect. And it's also a good thing that it's not perfect because it shows that you're human. And so that was one really, 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 really big thing that I learned, that it was like, just look fear in the eye and just do it. Stop letting it hold you back and just run and go full speed. So I encourage you, if you are in a similar position where you want to start something that you have always wanted to do, I encourage you to just do it. To just try your best at doing it. And then guess what? If it doesn't work, then try something else. And it's crazy for me to say that now because I'm thinking about the Selina who was so nervous to put anything out there, and now I'm posting videos all the time. And I just think about her and I just want to give her a hug because I'm like, you can do this. And sometimes that's all it takes, is it takes one person saying you can do that. You can do it. So I'm telling you now that if there's something that you've always wanted to do, do it. It's so rewarding. And if it doesn't if it's not successful, you'll learn something from it. So it's kind of like there's no way you could lose, because you're either going to succeed or you're either going to get a lesson. So that was a little bit of a rant, but that is the second thing that I learned this year. And I hope that seeing me doing some of these things would inspire others to take action and just push yourself outside of your comfort zone. So in 2022, I'm going to continue to do that and continue a life where I am fearless. Yes, fearless. Where I'm fearless and I continue to push myself outside of my comfort zone and grow and learn. The third lesson. So this lesson I learned a while back, but have been getting constant reminders and opportunities to, put what I've learned into action. And this one is, you do not have to always say yes. And you can say no without having an excuse. Now, this is something that I've always really, really struggled with. I've had a very difficult time saying no to people, and I always want to say yes. And one of the big points in in this year was in the summer, and I was nannying 4 beautiful kids, and I was also working another summer job on my computer, and I had a couple clients that I was working for all at the same time of starting this podcast and my YouTube channel. So it was a very, very busy time for me. And my employer asked me if I'd be interested in cleaning one of his rentals houses. And I was like, oh, that could be some good money. Maybe I should do it. And then I was like, well, I'm helping him out. And then I'm going to get paid. So, you rationalize it through your head. So I said yes. Even though the deadline was like 3 days, I had lots of stuff going on. I was nannying till late and had podcast interviews. And I remember that this day, it was the last day I had to clean his house, because I think I had like 2 or 3 days, like I said. But the first day, he asked me to stay late and nanny, so then I couldn't go and do the house. So I was starting to freak out, like I got this whole house to clean, and I said I'd do it, and I don't want to go against my word. And so I had a podcast interview that night. I had to stay a little bit late nannying, and I had to clean this whole house. So here I am having a little bit of a breakdown because I'm so stressed and I'm so mad at myself because I put myself in this situation where I said yes, where I should have said no. And I just remember crying. And then I didn't have paper. So I did my interview. I didn't have any paper towel to clean. I finished the interview, I think around like 8. I finished cleaning around like 1 o'clock, and I was so tired. I just finished a full day of working. I was so tired, and I was like, I need to say no, and that's okay. And so in my head, I was definitely getting mad at myself. I had to go run and get paper towel, and I'm crying, and then I took the wrong direction, or I took the wrong turn, and then it took me even longer to get it. It was just like the hottest mess. If you just imagine a million things and then everything going wrong, that's kind of like what it was. And then you're exhausted, so it makes everything a little bit worse. So in that situation, I was really like, I was being tested and I needed to say no. But I was in a situation where I did say yes, so I had to finish the job. But I was like, if I've learned anything from this, is I need to learn how to say no. And so for the rest of this year, since that summer, is I've been really practicing on saying no. Before someone would ask me to go watch their house for a couple days, I would have been like, yes. Or someone would be like, oh, they're looking for a house sitter. I'll be like, yes, I'll do it. I'll help you. Or they'd be like, I have this opportunity. Would you be interested in it? And I'd be like, yes. And recently, I've been saying no. And it's a huge lesson for me because and this might be the way that I was raised as well, we always say yes to everything. We always help whenever we can. And so I've been learning more and more, especially through these experiences that I put myself in where I'm just overextending myself, where I'm like, I don't want to be in that situation again. And I really learned that it's like, I got to say no. And that they're not going to look at you differently. Most people will not look at you differently if you set a boundary and you say no. That could also be a part of this whole learning, is that boundaries have been big for me too. But I saw this one quote and I was like, this really stuck with me for some reason. It was like, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So if you're saying yes to going and hanging out with this person, you're saying no to spending time and getting ready for the week with yourself. And I was like, whoa, I was like mind blown by that quote, because I was just like, that's so true. Every time I said yes to someone, I was saying no to myself and no to the time that I needed for myself. And so that quote really like struck me and was like huge for my learning this year. So moral of the story, full loop around, you can say no and it's okay. And you don't have to give any reason. I'm still working on that part. I always want to give someone a reason. I'm like, I can't, I'm late, or I have this going on. But you can literally just put a boundary up and say no, and it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. So that was the third learning that I learned this year. And going into 2022, I'm going to continue this practice where I make sure that I don't overcommit myself and say yes to things that make me happy and also still help out, obviously, but just in a different way and using boundaries. All right, so I'll flip the page. Ooh, this one's good. Okay, so number 4, the next one. So the fourth thing that was really big that I learned this year was that you have to be gentle with yourself. And I heard this quote, another quote, and it was like, you spend your whole life with yourself. You are the only one who knows what you're going through. And if you treated your friends the way you treat yourself, you would not still be around. And I was like, whoa, that's a good point. And I am a person who is very hard on herself. And if you know what that's like, it's very difficult when you're always beating yourself up and always saying that you need to do more. And it's kind of just been the way that I've been for a very long time, where I expect so much from myself, but it's more just like every single thing I pick on in myself, and my brain can be very negative at times. And this last month, I mean, I've been learning this throughout the whole year, especially with going through big decisions and big changes and working on myself and really trying to find the issues and go deep into my past and work on things and learn and grow. And I've had to be very gentle with myself, but it's hard because sometimes we get in this state where it's so negative and we just keep going. I think of it like a snowball, or a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts off this big little tiny one, and then it rolls down the hill and it collects a whole bunch of snow, and it's really hard to stop at that point. And it's a constant reminder for myself that I need to be gentle and remember that your mind is a powerful thing. The way that you think of things, the way that you approach things, it affects who you are and what you can put into the world. This is something that I have to work on all the time, and it's been a lesson that I've been learning the last couple of years again, but this year I've been reminded an extreme amount of times. And there was something that happened this Christmas where I got this gift from someone, and it was an angel, and I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, look, she gave me this angel and she said that I was her angel. And he was like, oh, that's so amazing. And a lot of people say that I'm their angel, and my dad's like, well, a lot of people say that you're angel, I just wish that you could be your own. And I literally was like, I'm gonna cry right now because I was like, he's so right. I'm not, especially this last couple months, I haven't been very nice to myself, and I haven't been gentle, and the way that I speak to myself in my head hasn't been very kind, and I'm very hard on myself. And so when he said that, it was like a really big reminder to me that, I need to be my own angel. You need to be your own angel, because like I said, you spend your whole life with yourself. You're the only one who's gonna always be there, because that's you. You're just you. You're there. And so would you say that to your best friend? Probably not. That's something I also think about. I'm like, if my friend was going through what I was going through right now, what would I say to them? Would I say what I'm saying to myself right now? No, nowhere close. So it's starting to become your own best friend, which is, I've been working on it. It's a lot harder than it sounds, but I think it's still going in the right direction, that you want to be your own best friend and you want to be nice to yourself and the way you speak to it. And it's not always going to be perfect, and that's why you have to be gentle with yourself and gentle with the way that you speak to yourself. And I just think that it's such an important lesson, and it's a little bit freeing when you can say, like, okay, I'm going through a little bit of an identity crisis. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm confused. I want to do so many things, but I don't know where to start. And when I think of that in my situation, I'm like, well, just do more, try harder. Like, why don't you know? I start going down the beat up cycle. Whereas if my cousin is having the same issue, which this is just a hypothetical, if my cousin was having the same issue, I would have been like, it's okay, take your time. You have time, and don't put so much pressure on yourself, and you got this. You can do anything you put your mind to. That's what I would say to a family member, a cousin, or a friend, not what I said to myself, right? I am like beating myself up all the time. And so I've been constantly reminded of this specific lesson of being kind to yourself and really trying to, respond to yourself in a way that you would respond to a friend. Instead of beating yourself up, lift yourself up. And so that was one really big lesson. And if you could relate, I'd love to hear your story on that and support you in any way that I can, because I know how it feels to be so stuck in your brain and beat yourself up so much and think everything's your fault and go through this whole spiral and then treat yourself poorly and not be gentle and not give yourself the time you need to, gain back the strength that it took from you. So that is the fourth thing, as that was a little bit more heavy, but that was the fourth thing. The fourth lesson that I really learned this year was to be gentle and to become your best friend as you are the only one who is with you for your whole life. So the fifth lesson, I'm really excited about this one, is that social media is someone's highlight reels, and you should not compare your low points to someone's high points and the beautiful parts of their lives. Because on social media, what a lot of us do is we show the good parts. We don't often show the hard parts. We want people to see that, oh, we went on this trip, or we're doing really great, or we did this, and it was really fun. We want people to see the happy and the fun. And for me personally, I want to be a light on social media. So I often do share the more positive stuff. And I find that it's so important. I really want to share this message with everyone, is that you need to stop comparing yourself to other people on social media, because it's their highlights. It's the best part of their week. So I want to share a story because I want you to know that there's always another side to some of the stories. So I post, a decent amount on Instagram, and I realized this through my own experience that, it's not that social media is fake. It's just that social media is showing the good parts, like I said. And so lately, it's been pretty hard to get some content out for me, as I've been in my own little rut in some ways. And I know my Instagram you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know that I've been going through an iffy part, like a little road bump on my journey, because my social media does not show that. And what happens is you can see my one good day out of the week. And that's exactly what happens. I had a really good hair day. I was feeling myself. I was feeling good. I was feeling productive. And so I was like, I'm going to share it. I'm going to take a selfie. I'm going to share it on the internet because, that's what we do. And that was the one good day out of the week. You didn't see the 6 other days of that week where I had 4 really bad days. I had a really hard time getting out of bed. I had 2 mental breakdowns. I was crying. And I just realized that I'm almost 100% 100% sure, this is what other people do as well. They show the one good day out of their whole week where, it was a good day. You're authentically showing that it was a good day, but it's just hard when we're, not used to showing our wounds or the hard parts of our lives on social media. So it's just like a little bit, it's hard. So we kind of don't share that part of our lives. And I'm really trying to break through that barrier with myself where I can start to share some of that more vulnerable stuff where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not okay right now. I'm not okay. And my purpose for sharing things like this is never to get pity or make people be like, oh, and like make people feel bad for me, because that's not the point. That's not the point. The point of it is to make other people feel like they're not alone. I want people to know that I'm struggling too. This person's struggling too. We're not all just living this perfect, beautiful life. There's actually hard parts to it as well. And so I'm trying really hard myself. This is one of my things going in the new year. I really want to share more of the hard parts of my life so people don't see just the good days. So I know that lots of times you've heard, Instagram is the highlight reels, but I really, really want you to take this away. If you are someone who is going on social media and after you leave it, you don't feel good because you've just sat there and compared yourself to other people's lives, or you've sat there and you just subconsciously do it. You're not you don't think you're doing it, but you're just kind of, going through the motions, and then you feel really bad after you leave the app. This is for you. I want you to know that there's always another side to the story. I have this one selfie where I literally took it after I just fell on my butt on the ice, and I was like having a not great day in the morning, and then I decided to be like, no, I'm gonna have a good day. I get to decide I'm having a good day. And then I'm marching outside and I fall right on my butt, smash it. It was hurt so bad. I'm like, ah! I didn't cry or anything, but it really hurt. And then I got back up, and then I was like, I'm just still gonna take a cute selfie. But that's a funny story behind a picture that I took. But I just want to remind you that there's always another side to the story. And it's, do not compare yourself. Do not do it. It will only cause you more pain. And I know, because I'm speaking from experience. I go onto certain apps and I always compare myself because I'm like, wow, look at them. They're posting this many videos. Or wow, look at them. They're traveling all over the world and I want to be doing that. We all do it. We all compare. But if you can really stop yourself and notice when you're doing it and being like, this is not good for me, there's always another side. I saw this one video recently where Ed Sheeran was talking, and he's like, if I ever see someone post a picture of a selfie, I want to send them a message and say, are you okay? Because most of the time they're going on there and posting that photo to get some sort of response back from everyone and likes and love from people on the internet. And I was like, that is a good point. That is one good point. And so for you, I want to tell you that there is always two sides to the story, and social media is sharing the highlights, is sharing the beautiful parts of life. They're not showing the ups and the downs. They're not showing the downs. Most people are. I'll say most, because I know some people do that, and kudos to you if you do that. So, moving into 2022, I encourage you to block the people that make you feel that way. Stop comparing yourself on social media, and just remembering when you do compare that there's always another side to the story, and they are sharing their highlights. So, that is all I have for today. I can't believe it's actually already been 30 minutes of me talking. I really enjoy doing these episodes, so I'd love to hear your feedback. If you would like to leave a comment, you can do so. I'd love to hear your feedback. And I want to know, what is one thing that you have learned in 2021? And I asked my mom and dad this question, and my dad had said that he learned anything is possible. He said that he needs to, he learned that he needs to lower his expectations. And so I think that it's really cool to hear what you guys have to say. So if you would like, you can message me or drop a comment and tell me what is something that you learned in 2021 and what is something that you're going to start doing in 2022. I can't wait to hear all about it, and I am so excited to see what 2022, which sounds crazy to say that we're already there. It feels like the last 2 years have just jumped away. But I'm very excited and thrilled to be here with you guys and continue to grow with you guys and share more stories to change the world and make sure that you know that you're not alone. And so that is all I have for you today. Don't forget to subscribe and download all the podcast episodes so you don't miss any. Thank you so much again for all your support. I can't wait to see you in the new year and talk to you and just learn and grow together. So that's it for now. Bye everyone. Have a great day.